Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, you're replaceable. Okay, bye. You ripped me off, now you go to jail and get deported. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You're replaceable. Okay, bye. I worked for a company for just under 5 years. The company I worked for existed for an additional 10 years prior to me. While I worked at this company, it ballooned to be the #1 provider in the region for its unique service with about 75% of the market. It was a small business of about 15 employees. I loved my job and the skills I learned while working there were quite valuable. I loved my team, and the clients we provided services for. My twice-yearly reviews with the owner were always 10 out of 10 with no recommendations for improvement. I was exceptional at my job in every way. I handled company operations, HR/payroll, customer service, marketing, employee management, schedules, employee and client training, and many other things at this company. I was also able to step in and do any of my teammates' jobs if they were out sick or on vacation. The owner of the company was giving out a bonus late summer last year, and mine, while being more than previous years, was notably less than my teammates. I asked owner, are the bonuses related to performance, and if so, what could I have done to earn more? Owner replied, the bonuses are not performance related, you are just more replaceable than the others. Oh, okay, I replied, and I proceeded to process each of the bonuses, then went to lunch. I called my spouse to gain wisdom and advice. I was pretty lit but didn't want to make a rash decision. My spouse is very intelligent and, while they are not a fortune teller, they have an ability to foresee various responses and all the potential outcomes. They are business-wise and have been on the executive team of a large company for the past 21 years while also serving on several community boards and business advisory boards. We decided together to continue forward with our scheduled vacation and use the time away to calm our minds, relax, have fun, and to also determine the best course of action for me. We were leaving after working one more day, so I worked like all was normal the rest of the day and the following day, then left on vacation. While away, we discussed several scenarios, the potential outcomes, consulted with a business advisor and a business attorney. With all the advice I received, I determined that upon my return from vacation, I would resign from my role with a 2-week notice. However, in a fit of rage, I was immediately terminated by owner. Which was one of the scenarios we thought would happen, so I was prepared for owner's poor reaction. During the next couple weeks, I created and opened a competing business offering similar services. However, I offered more customizable options with higher quality service and results. I knew our clients wanted these options and had proposed said options several times at old workplace, but was never green-lighted to implement the changes for no reason other than owner didn't come up with the idea, so it was a stupid idea. I also maintained communications with a few people from my old team. My old team did not relay the day-to-day happenings at my previous workplace, and I never asked about the company. However, they would vent to me on occasion. I would listen without comment. I knew service, quality, and the work environment in general suffered since my departure. Morale went down and clients were less satisfied. I also read the Google and Facebook reviews for old company. Yikes. Additionally, 2 full-time and 1 part-time persons were hired to fill my role, and a portion of my responsibilities, like HR and payroll, were filled by outside companies. I quickly built up my business and within 3 months was able to hire several of my old teammates. They were able to jump in on day 1 with minimal training as they were the best employees at my old workplace. The quality of previous workplaces' offerings continued to fall, which sent additional business my way and quickly caused incoming work to be non-existent at old workplace. My old workplace went from being the #1 provider of unique service in the region to nothing in a matter of months. My previous employer is now searching for gainful employment. I know this because over the weekend owner applied for a position at my spouse's company. Side note, I think my spouse's company should bring my previous employer in for an interview, but when they arrive, surprise. I'm the interviewer and all I say is, how replaceable am I now? My spouse, rightfully so, has said, no. Moral of the story, don't tell your employees they are replaceable because they might create a competing business that is better than yours, while taking your best employees and your clients, which will leave you with no business to sell. Owner's whole retirement plan was to sell business, and starting all over by searching for employment under someone else. Looks like your company was replaceable, not me. You ripped me off, now you go to jail and get deported. This happened years ago in Korea. I knew a guy named James, we'll make up his name. James was from the UK. James came to Korea, got a job as an English teacher, got fired for having sex with a student. Luckily student was above age, so no jail time for James. James decided that he was tired of teaching English and James would just work at his friend's bar under the table. I just so happened to go to that bar from time to time. I had heard James had gotten fired from his job. I had inquired if James had gotten another job or was married. He was not, so I assumed he was now staying in Korea illegally. I however felt it was best I just stay out of James' business and let James be James. I'm not him, his life is not mine to lead. One time James asks me if I like to smoke weed, I tell him back home I did. He tells me he sells weed on the side and if I want I can buy from him. I decline as weed is super illegal and I don't want to go down that path. Again, I'm not James, his life is not mine to lead. One night I'm at bar James works. My bill comes out to 78,000. I give him James 100,000 won, 250,000 won bills to pay. I am supposed to get 22,000 won in change. James hands me back 13,000 won. I begin to walk out and notice he's only given me 13,000 won. I go back to James and put this out and tell him he must have given me 3 1,001 notes instead of 2 10,001 notes and 2 1,001 notes. He tells me I'm just trying to rip him off. We have some back and forth. I end up giving in and saying FCK it. I tell the owner later about this. The owner gets super pissed off because apparently I'm not the first customer who has done this. Also, when James works, it's not uncommon for James' register to come up short. I ask the owner why he doesn't fire James, and the owner tells me he feels really bad for James. I decide, you know what, FCK this shit, Korea has had enough of James. A good Korean buddy of mine dad had just recently retired as the chief of police. I figure my Korean buddy dad knows some cops in the force and might enjoy a nice tip-off. Let's call my Korean friend Young. I go to Young and I tell Young the story. I also tell Young how James is also selling weed and is here illegally. This goes to his dad, who gets to the police. However, for whatever reason they can't seem to catch James in the ask and immigration is being slow. Then Young approaches me and says the special investigator would like me to try and buy weed from James. Now I'm nervous, I'm scared I might get wrapped up into this whole ordeal and might someone go down with James. Luckily for me, I had just recently got divorced and had hired a Korean lawyer, so I went to my lawyer for advice. He referred me to his co-worker who is a criminal defense lawyer in Korea. The criminal defense lawyer did charge me to consult, but said he'd talk to the special investigator on my behalf. Long story short, they want me to go undercover and buy weed from James. I will be mic'd up, and if I'm successful they will pay my consult fee with my criminal defense lawyer. My criminal defense attorney also promises me that I won't get in trouble, that I am merely being used because James trusts me. this point I want my money back I spent on the criminal defense attorney, and I'd like to help out the bar owner who is a buddy of mine and get revenge for James. So I agree. I tell the investigator I'll need a few visits/chats with James to get him comfortable with me, but I think by the third or fourth chat I'll be ready to make the buy. So I spend the next few weeks going to the bar where James works and I'm pleasant with him, chatting him up, being nice. Then on the third visit I tell James, "Hey man, do you still sell?" James say he does. I ask how much, he says 75,001 a gram. I tell him I want 2 grams and I'll bring 150,000 on Thursday. He tells me he'll have it. I tell the investigator James has agreed to meet me on Thursday at a local CU before he goes to work and that he'll have 2 grams with him. The investigator tells me they will have police nearby the CU and when James comes up I need to confirm he has it, then I need to text the investigator. At this point I should tell James the first need to pull the money out of the CU and at the same time send a text to the investigator that James has it and they'll come and arrest James. I'm also told it's very important I don't actually handle the weed myself. Nervous, but FCK it. That Thursday rolls around, I get to the CU early. I decide I'm going drink a bottle of soju to not be so nervous. I see James walk up, he sits down with me. I ask him if he has the weed. He says he does. I tell him great, I'm holding my phone so I text the investigator. I tell James, I need to pull the money out of the ATM. James says, alright, and asks, can I have a shot of your soju? I tell him, sure, go ahead and finish it. I get up, I'm being slow on purpose. Felt like forever. Just then 2 Korean cops walked around the corner, and 2 Korean cop cars pull up. The investigator points to James, and James is placed under arrest. Much to my surprise I am also placed under arrest. Which was not a part of the plan. James yells at me and tells me I step him up, confused I go, I'm also getting arrested, and we get put into separate cop cars. So now I'm sitting back of a Korean cop car wondering WTF is going on. This wasn't a part of the plan. I didn't actually break any laws, I even had a lawyer help me with this. So we take off, for what I assume is the police station. However, when we get to the stoplight I notice the car James is in keep going straight and we take a right. In broken English one of the cops says, "Don't worry, be happy, I'm really confused." We take 2 more rights and it dawns on me, we are going back to the same CU. We stop just outside of the CU, and I see the investigator waiting. I get taken out of the cop car and they take off the handcuffs. I get out, and the investigator says, I apologize but my boss suggested we handcuff you in front of James so it doesn't look like you set him up, and I go, oh, well it would have been nice to be told that ahead of time. He apologizes and says it was a last-minute suggestion. I then ask, so what will James be told when he doesn't see me at the police station? The cop said, he'll be told you were sent to a different police station to keep you 2 separate, but you are free to go. FYI, Korean cops were fairly gentle on me. I was in shock being handcuffed though. As for James, I suspect James made a deal with the cops on his supplier, I'm assuming, because James only ended up spending a few months in Korean jail before being deported back to his home country. And that's how I got back at the guy who ripped me off over 9,001 or about $7. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.